This is a Club 11 production.
Tyler's out there shooting the mascots as they're walking out to the game. All of them have the little Soccer Odyssey clappers in their hands, and they're showing it up to the camera, and they're all walking out onto the field with them. We're like,
somewhere, so our genius plan of, either the clappers visually will be seen, or from a brand perspective, we can make noise, and people will be like, oh my God, Club 11, as if that was going to happen.
But then I guess also the thing with the clappers is the kids loved them, the parents hated them, because the kids would never stop clapping throughout the whole entire pre-game game. They're like, why are you giving these out?
But it was perfect because during they walked out, and during the national anthem, maybe we can find the screenshot somewhere, but the kids are holding up while the national anthem is happening, which was, I think, we couldn't imagine. Again, that's the only time we really pushed the clappers, but it worked perfect for one day.
I think it was the only that was the only case where it could work. Maybe Asheville would have worked too, but everyone else you're not letting your mascot just walk out there with a random thing. But that was
thank
great.
you, Donovan. Though.
So Donovan got a jersey, and then the best part after the game, he posted, and I mean, we didn't accept the collab request, but a little picture of him with the jersey on the bed.
We still can, I think. It must still be.
It might work. I mean, we should. I really would like that.
It's one of the most dramatic finals.
The date is March 16th, Pablo. We wake up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, with the grand plan to leave at 10 a.m. to bring the bus out on its first expedition, driving from Orlando to Asheville by way of Macon. Did we plan through Macon?
Yeah.
And we didn't leave at 10 a.m. as a common theme that would persist the rest of the year. We left a little bit later, and I think it was the morning of when your mom was like, have you guys looked at the weather?
Yeah.
And there was, I don't know what kind of water-based natural disaster pending, but somewhere north of us it was like, no, it's going to rain a lot, and you guys have to drive right through that. And we didn't have a choice but to do so. And so, I mean, it was an hour after we left that we figured out if the wipers worked.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never turned on the wipers until that point.
Again, you'd only driven 40 minutes on that bus before.
Yeah,
exactly. I guess let's jump into the headspace of Justin Amatucci as we are in the right lane going 45 miles per hour.
Sure, yeah.
Just north of Orlando as it's teeming rain.
I think it was one of those, like I was saying in the previous episode, there was this focus that had overtaken all of us to where it just didn't really feel like I had time to even stress about it. Whereas I think that's what I've learned a lot to get good at this year is if something's really going bad, there's no use in stressing out about it. And it's just let's just figure out how to get through it. So we had did we have the walkie-talkie at that point? No, we didn't.
We bought them that trip.
Yeah. That was, I think I called Gabe. Because Gabe and Pablo were in the trailing car, and we're or you guys called them or whatever, and get in front of us and put your hazards on so I can see, because the wipers aren't going fast enough across. And then quickly thereafter, the right wiper just gets loose and just starts flopping every way. And I just have one wiper going, and I mean, for the rest of the trip, it was that one wiper. I didn't end up really needing the right one. Or actually, no, we fixed it with some duct tape. But that's it. We made it through that rain passage.
But it was torrential.
It was torrential. You couldn't see in front of you. I remember stopping that first rest stop we parked at, and it felt like a collective is this how it's going to go the rest of the way?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like a wise decision. It
was hilarious that it was right when we left, it was a little bit like today where it's just sunny, a nice little, it was almost it felt like paradise. I was like, oh, yeah, this is
classic
great.
Florida weather.
Blasting Ventura Highway. We were feeling it.
For real. And then 30 minutes into the drive, just bang.
It's Mom, pick me up. I'm scared.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that day when we ended in Macon, You made it into the hotel, and I was getting lightheaded. Felt like super hot, like I was about to faint. We need food. I felt like destroyed. I think the whole entire 2 weeks hit me there, and we went to Chili's, of course.
But describe what it's like to like, and especially for that first one, like, what does it feel like on the inside, like while you're driving?
Never really thought about it, but it's just you have to be focused, especially that first time, and especially with the rain. You really have to be focused because, yeah, no one's gonna hit you necessarily. Like if somebody hits me, it's not gonna be bad, but if I hit anybody else, it's gonna be terrible. This thing's huge and heavy, so there's a lot of that of making sure you're in between the lines. Which now it's not hard, but at that point it was being very focused on. Because at the time, like Tyler was in there, Kyrus is in there, and they're all moving around, and so you have to be careful how fast you're braking and everything. And I don't know, just looking at the cars around you, and it's stressful when cars are just constantly passing you. You're the slowest thing out there on the highway, going 50 miles an hour. At the time, I wasn't brave enough to even go 50 miles an hour. You're going like 45, and you see, and you start getting like, oh, like I'm a hindrance to the traffic and everything. You know, everyone's looking at me. It's hard not to look at this thing, and had Club 11 plastered on the side of it. We rode up in the chalk marker, and it was stressful. I mean, that night. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, because I feel like every time that I see you like get off the bus after driving, it's like it almost looks like you've run a marathon or something.
Yeah, because there's no AC, and so it's getting hot in there, and that seat isn't comfortable. So when you come out, it is like a very much like, oh. Jeez, like I don't want to go back in there, but we ended up, we made it to Macon, and I think I just scarfed down the whole entire thing of chips and like drank like 5 waters and like what the heck is happening? And I mean, I don't know where else to take it after that.
I feel were we in Macon when like leaving Macon after we stayed the night at the hotel where it was like, we can't fill up the tank with gas?
No, that was towards the end of that trip.
Because I feel like we did, Chili's in Macon, and then we took off. We got to Asheville.
Well, I'll say that night at Macon, I was searching how do you drive a bus up a mountain? And then I was learning, about the downshift and everything, and in 12 hours I was going to have to do that drive. So trying to figure out how to best go about it, and a lot of great informative videos on that. So
yeah, if you're ever curious and you're in a spot where you need to drive a bus up a mountain the next day, just open up YouTube.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, the bus community is very tight knit and very they're out there, trying to help each other out and answer questions. So there's a lot of great forums, videos if you're interested. We're welcoming.
Yeah, we're living proof of the community. So we get to Asheville on Monday, and I guess to actually explain what the plan was to do 3 games in 3 days across North Carolina, with Asheville being the first one. Asheville City SC, they hosted, I think, Greenville maybe. Game 2 is in Boone, which is like 2 hours away, but very, very high up in elevation compared to Asheville for Appalachian FC. And then day 3 in High Point with Carolina Core, and then back home or back to Orlando with the bus. And again, I think maybe in everything we've explained so far, this was the most like, oh yeah, we can actually do this thing.
Yeah. Ignorance is at an all-time high.
All-time high. Because we got to Asheville and was like, oh, we did it. Like, that's the craziest thing we'll have. We drove however many hours. That's the craziest thing we'll have to do again. And then I guess, why did we think Asheville was going to be this big, the perfect destination for us? Why did we push Justin to really go to North Carolina?
Oof. I mean, I think back to 2024 when we went on the tour, and I remember that game was probably my favorite out of the 3 that we went to that past year. That first year when we just went by car, and I remember like that time seeing like their field is like roped off, and they have like all the people sitting around or just basically standing like around the field. Yep. And it's like, we talked to the people that were running the club. One of them is Stacy Enos, 85er. For context, that was the first women's national team that ever played a game. They played in Italy in 85 or 1985. But it was great to see like what that community was all about, the people, the fan base, and how welcoming they were that first time that we were there. And then I think obviously in September of 2024, it was Hurricane Helene, and obviously it was devastating for that community.
And unprecedented,
yeah.
There's literally no way that should have happened. Like, scientifically, it should have happened.
Yeah, yeah. And then
I think driving in too, we'd seen the road and the amount of damage that had been done.
Yeah, like we didn't, because even to back up further, like when we were reaching out, because we tried to do some like pre-production essentially of like reaching out to people before we got to locations, and so I think it was Tim at the club who helped point us in certain directions with people we should speak to, but because we wanted to make sure it wasn't like, we were sensitive of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so trying to be like, hey, like we want to come here with our bus. We were here last year. Like, do you guys think that's a good thing to do? And like, how are things? Because it would have been 6 months since the hurricane.
Yeah.
And everyone at the club and in the community was, again, super helpful and welcoming and like excited that we were going to bring the bus there. But we didn't really know what we were going to drive into visually.
And I think for them it was like their first sporting event in the city since the hurricane. So it was like there was also that component of like, people always talk about soccer, transcend, like being more than just a sport. And obviously, at this point everybody says that, and you could say it's maybe a little bit of a cliche or something like that, but I feel like how many times do you actually get to like be there in a moment like that where the sport does transcend that, like it's more than just a sport. And I think for us, I think at least for me personally, I thought it was like trying to get the stories out of that. What does a third division club, what can it do for a community in terms of healing and all of that? But
yeah, even too, like we didn't even super explain, like we've mentioned the Open Cup, of course, but like the backdrop of this being the Open Cup, and Asheville was going to play. Asheville is a USL2 team, which is essentially if you don't know, like a summer league team full of kids in college, and they were going to play a professional team. So even the potential for, could there be an upset? Like, it feels like another uphill battle that Asheville has to fight was like a little extra side of the story that made things interesting. Because the fans weren't showing up with like, we're going to win this game. It's going to be sick. It was like the point was the game is happening. And that was what was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were, which we'll later find out, like they were just happy that something was happening. Like there was something happening to get their minds off of what was surrounding them.
Yeah. But I think also, when you mentioned like the drive going into Asheville, obviously like I think most of us had seen like the news and the images that were coming out of that, but I think it's like a completely different thing to see that in person, like as you're driving in.
Yeah,
almost
we were driving and you see the highway, and it's like the bus is bouncing all around on it. I'm like, this sucks. Like, why does this road suck? And you look over to the side, and that's like the old highways next to it. The one that got washed away is next to it, and you're like, oh, like, wow. Like, you see it it's different. Yeah, when you see it in person, you're like, this is actually like affecting people's day-to-day lives. We didn't see the worst of it. There was definitely a lot worse that was happening that we didn't get to see, just because also that was the one limiting factor of having the bus there, is you can't be so mobile to go and see everything because you have the bus. But the stuff that we did get to see while we were there, it was like, very humbling. And
it was, I think, an important part for us. Like, we wanted in all these places to, like, the point being, and of course it was different depending on the stop because maybe we only spent a day here or there, but we wanted to, like, talk to people and explore a little bit. And so I guess even before we get there, like, mentioning that Nico and Alfardi were with us too was super fun. And Gabe went to go pick up Alfardi hours away from the airport. But because you and Nico and I, the next morning, there's was a soccer complex in Asheville that would host Big, at least regional tournaments, like youth tournaments. Whole bunch of fields, like gigantic stadium lights. And it was entirely covered in sand when we got there. We were going to go just walk around. And, something that would take millions of dollars and forever to fix. Completely washed away. And again, like set in between in the Appalachian Mountains. It felt completely unbelievable that this thing was several feet underwater.
Yeah, it was like the turf was like it was almost like a scar, like just like gashes of just stuff like ripped up. Then that river was like right next to it. Like you see all the trees falling down. I think the water line, right, was like up to, like covering up an entire, because they had the little field houses and like the light towers and all that, and it's like, they would tell you that the water line was like up to, I don't know, like halfway up the light tower, and it's like just trying to get that visual of like this was a place where people would like congregate and play soccer, and like all these kids like coming out here to play, and then it's just like basically completely washed away.
Yeah. And we happened by chance to stumble across a friend that we met. I don't know if we got her name. I forget her name. But basically this woman was out on her walk, and what we learned later, because we stopped and talked to her, it was her first walk, which I guess, I don't know how much she was exaggerating some stories she was telling, but a credible source nonetheless, where she was doing her first walk, like her daily walk she used to do before the hurricane. The first time she was doing it was this day we happened to run into her. And we talked to her for, it felt like an hour almost.
Yeah.
Just asking her a whole bunch of questions and peppering her with questions about like, what were things like how have things changed? What has the impact actually been? And she was awesome. She was such a character because she was, I guess we learned at UNC Asheville, like where the game was being played, there's a school dedicated just for like older folks to take classes and get degrees, and she was enrolled there and talked about how she was a teacher in the past. But we were like, oh, we're gonna go to the game, like the game's happening there later, you have to come. And she was like, oh my god, well, honey, I'll do whatever I can to get there.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like again, like it felt like she was dropped out of a movie or spawned from somewhere and gave us the perfect like what we were looking for.
Because I remember it was like deserted, it was like desolate. And then, like, in the distance, we just see, like, a figure, like, appear, basically, on the horizon. And then, like, she keeps, like, coming, she's, like, doing her, I guess, her walk that she hadn't done in months at that point. And, she's talking about how she used to walk by there and see, like, hundreds of kids, like, playing on these fields and all of that. And yeah, I mean, I think that was, because, I don't know, we had been so focus right on just getting there, and I don't know, getting the magazine ready, getting the bus ready, and then it's like I still remember that interaction a lot because it was the first like and we've had a lot on this journey where it's like you have like just a random interaction with somebody that you'll just meet on the road, and you learn so much, you get to hear a little bit more about like what these places are like aside from just the soccer teams. But I think when I was mentioning like my favorite stop and why maybe it's still Asheville is because, that memory of like, oh man, it was like the first time that we're kind of, I don't know, getting out there and getting to experience things that, I don't know, maybe sometimes you don't think that you will or would.
Well, I just think, I don't know, like, as maybe we've explained at this point with like all of this, is there some kind of rosiness that when you talk about things, like, oh my God, this is going to be so great, and we're going to like do this and do that, and it's all going to go so well. But at least with Asheville, there was like, no way, like this is serious.
Yeah.
There's just like some kind of, I don't know what the right word is, severity or intensity to it of like, yeah, it's not like, which is why we wanted to do this whole trip in the first place. Like these people aren't a backdrop for what you're trying to do. Like they have their own real impactful things happening that are important in the context of soccer.
Yeah.
But we printed posters at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because we were going to give them away. And then we drove to Old London Road, the pub, beforehand to, I guess, test being there.
Yeah, I think we were just trying to see if the bus would even fit there.
Yeah. I think we had a spot. They gave us or blocked off a spot for us. So anyway, like we worked with the club and the South Slope Blues, the team's supporters group, to be like, hey, we're going to be at this pub. Come hang out, basically, before the match. Again, our first ever.
Which is weekday,
Which is a Tuesday at the 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. The pub gate, as they call it, officially started. But this is our first bus stop. This is our first. Come aboard, everybody! Come aboard. See our genius thing we've done.
Yeah.
And I guess what were our first thoughts as we parked at the pub gate? They had posters, flyers on the inside with the game and our logo happening, this big event was happening outside.
Yeah, I mean, even for context of how the bus looked, it looked nothing like all of this decoration on the outside. It was just bare and it said Club 11 on it on the outside, and we were just expecting people to know what that meant and to have seen maybe the video and come on and get that, oh, there's a museum inside. So there's a lot of people just walking right by it, not really paying too much mind to it, because why would you? It's just a bus in the middle of their restaurant. So there was this big thing of trying to figure out, how do we coax people to come aboard? How do we, because once they get on, they love it. They see what's going on and they see what we're trying to do, and we have a chance to talk to them, and it was great. I think maybe getting a little too vulnerable here, but we were like, what happens if we sell out today? What happens if we sell out a magazine?
How many magazines did we have aboard?
Yeah, we're like, oh, what if we sell 25? We only have 25 with us, and maybe we sold 1 or 2. I don't know. But I think that was the first step of this trip, of being we have so much to learn. We have so much to improve upon. But I think it was important to see the good side of it too, is these fans that did come out, they really connected with what we were trying to do and connected with the mission. It's just how do we get more people out there? How do we make this more digestible for somebody to understand it, to come on and not make it such a leap to go onto some random bus?
Yeah, because the outside was completely blank. We didn't even really talked about the inside, of what we renovated.
Exactly.
Yes.
It was just a video of
but we didn't
freaks.
We renovated it, and we did what on the inside? Where did we get all this? We put stuff on the inside. Where did this stuff come from?
At that point, it was all off of eBay or our personal collection. Yeah. So it was very much, there were stories behind them, but there wasn't stories pertaining to what we were doing behind them. It was just this is our American Soccer Museum, which is cool. And I mean, it still is cool, but it didn't have the lore that it would eventually have. as you go on, you can kind of ramble on these long tangents about how we got these things, who we met along the way. So it was very tough of the conversation the conversation was just very surface level of American soccer, and there isn't much to talk about with the bus because we just started.
Yeah, it was we have big plans. We're gonna do all of this, and here's my Brown Scurry cereal box. And
yeah.
Okay,
okay.
Good luck with that. I hope. But it's not we did 10 stops already, and we've been here and we've been there, and here are the stories. It was we're here.
Yeah, put your pin on the map, and look at our magazine. We didn't, because at the end of the day, which we learned along the way, Gabe and I are usually on the inside talking to people, is not that you're a salesman, but how do you pitch this to people? How do you explain this to people?
Yeah, the whole hour and a half we just did.
Yeah.
How do we explain that to someone who doesn't really, maybe they like their local team, but they're not even big soccer fans?
Yeah, you have not you have 15 minutes, but you want to respect people's time and you want to say it in a concise way, but you're what are we doing?
yeah.
And how do you mix in the magazine with it and explain that and get, have them open it up and look through it? Because we don't want to sell you it, but we worked really hard on this. So we want you to see it, and we want you to, get excited about it like we are. And people do when they see it, but it's how do we pitch people? How do we get this little elevator pitch? And I think it was a thing of Gabe would say something that's really good, and I'm okay, I'm going to say that the next time. And then we would just go back and forth and keep building this story that we can tell people.
Yeah, literally, I was just overhearing the stuff that you would say or that Gabe would say and be all right, I'm going to use that the next time I have to talk to somebody. But it was, the whole thing was blank, and it was a lot of hesitation from people to come in. But then, yes, when they did walk in, I don't know, I feel they did, even though it was not what it is today in terms of the amount of stuff that's in there. It was still people were oh yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And I remember there was somebody who, that bought a magazine and then afterwards, kind of heard a little bit about, what we were trying to do and all of that, and then, he just pulls out some cash and he's like, here, like,
we get a tip
for gas. So you guys, and then it's like, when it's just like, similar to like how we were talking in episode 1 that like, with Joanna, for example, that she believed, and then it was like, okay, like we were able to do, the story with Tim. It was like, yeah, like having that one person just like show you like, oh, okay, like maybe you aren't necessarily crazy and they want to support what you're doing. It just makes you want to keep going.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to distinguish too, is the fact that, yeah, this majority of it, not to say it wasn't working, but it wasn't like we imagined this, pie in the sky event thing to be. Middle of the week, people are going to come out and it's going to be crazy. But I think the cool thing that we realized is like we only need like 2 people to come on and have a good conversation with to be like, wow, that was awesome. Like it didn't take much for us to be like, that was sick.
Like I think, yeah, from Asheville, like to your point about like, I think the dad who gave us the gas, I don't even know if he was a soccer fan. I think his kid like wanted something and he bought him the magazine. He was like, hey man, here's some, and we're like, what?
The thing is, he still follows us and like stuff, and like sometimes I see his name pop up and I remember, like it's like, oh my god, like that's somebody that we met like on the ground, didn't know anything about whatever we were doing, and then but he was like he was willing to support what we were doing, and then it's like Justin said, it's like, I don't know, that's like enough to be like, okay, like let's go, so let's keep going.
Totally.
So,
I think, well, even too, the like the thing that stuck out to me about Asheville is like we weren't really like ready yet, or we were kind of like they gave us what, like tokens to get a like drink and meal or something.
Yeah.
But while that was what we were kind of sitting around doing nothing, the photographer for Greenville, the opposing team, just shows up, and he has a jersey which is over here on the video, the Greenville Triumph jersey, and he was like, I like, this is awesome. We're like, wait, like you saw this and like it made sense to you? Like, are you sure about that?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I feel like him and the, I don't know if it was the same guy that you guys were talking about, but I think in Asheville, like he was definitely the first one to come in.
Yeah,
because it was like not finished, but yeah, Kevin, like he came in and he gave us that jersey with, I forget the player in the back, number 10, maybe? Velasquez, who was like, their star player. We did like a little jersey swap. But like he had, he'd seen the video, like he'd seen the launch. He said that he couldn't believe that. He asked me, like why, kind of like why, this location in particular. And he was happy that, it was close proximity to him. So I think Kevin was like a good example of somebody that, prior to coming onto the bus, like he had his own idea of what the bus was. At that time, it probably made more sense than what my idea of the bus was. But then somebody else came like 3 hours later that did not watch soccer. Like he told me to my face, like and I'll never forget this, but he was like, and I had just talked to him for like 3 minutes just explaining. He was like, hey man, like I think that's cool and all. Like I don't watch, but I like people that, are doing things that they put their mind to, basically. That, if you guys dreamt of this, like, I'm just here to support you. So, like, I'll buy one, but, like, I'm probably not going to read it. Like, hey, that's good enough for me. Like, here you go. But I think, honestly, like, to Justin's point, like, yeah, it only took 2 people to be like, that was cool. And, like, yeah, I mean, I was the one that said that I was thinking we would probably like sell out. Like that was my.
I didn't want to say anything.
My expectation, like going in. I mean, I think it was like definitely inflated, but yeah, I think it was nice that on the first stop we realized off the bat like this is what it takes, and I think we're happy with conversations, and like Justin and I like definitely if we were able to watch a video of like whatever the hell we said that first day to, what we said in Maine, for example, like I wouldn't be able to, you would see where some things started, but the fact that we had experiences like Asheville was what I talked to people about in Maine. So the more stops that we made, and I'm sure, we'll continue, but like, we wouldn't have gotten to do Maine like the way we did if we never like experienced that.
Absolutely. We wouldn't have been able to talk about things the way we did if not for like Bullhorn Ben in Asheville, who is a guy who doesn't play trombone, but he does play the trombone for the South Slope Blues. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but who had the patch vest on, who had he pulled patches from countries, from all the different countries that the players that come through Asheville play on, and his whole point was like, I just want to make sure people, like kids who come play here, feel like we care about them and like we're really, really rooting for them. And so we then could share that information with people in Maine, and then like it all made sense of like, oh, we are like collecting these stories we can share. But then pub gate ends. I forget how we didn't know where we were gonna put the bus.
Yeah,
we kind of had a location, but not really.
They gave us some parking, but it was like where they park the buses that the teams come with for their college games and stuff.
Was this when you got offered a driving job too?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think you guys drove in another car than us, and me and somebody else drove the bus in. Maybe it was you, Gabe? I don't remember.
I mean, I have like the picture of.
We were together. Well, I'll explain because we were
Yeah.
together trying to find, because this game was packed. It felt like
packed.
the whole city was out to go see it, so we couldn't find another parking spot for it. So we're like, all right, we're going to park here. Because there's a baseball game happening at the field across from it too. So all the parking was filled, so we're like, we'll just go to this bus parking thing. It kept us away from the game. Like, no one could see the bus from where we're at, and the whole thing we were trying to be like is we want people from the game to go to the bus. And so I think we stuck around for the first half. We're like, we'll stick around for the first half, and then we'll find a great spot to put the bus for the end of the game. And as this game's going into extra time, and cut me off if I'm leaving out any, like if you guys want to come in at any point to explain a little bit about the game. But our grand idea was like at the end of the game, they're going to win on penalty kicks, and we're going to have the bus parked in the perfect location for everyone to come out and see. Like, we're going to go move it to somewhere else from this parking, and it's going to be at a good spot for this end of the game. So let's just talk a little bit about the game.
Yeah, well, even, I mean, like the setting of the game, because we've been there before, but like there's the hill, which is like, in our minds at least, an icon. Like, you're playing FIFA, it's like this iconic thing you see in the background of a game. But it was packed.
It was packed. I mean, when Justin was saying the whole town was out, that's pretty much what it was like. And how I was saying that, it's just the field. On one side, there's like the woods, basically. Then there's the hill where there's like a lot of like kids and people just like sitting on it.
Banner, the AVL city thing banner.
Yeah, they got like the little, almost like a tifo on the. It was so good. And then on the other side, there's just like the dorms, because it's the college campus. So it's like there's like people watching the game from their dorms. There's people watching it from a little hill, and then there's others that are just like standing around the rope, and it's just like the perfect thing where you just like kind of like sit back and you're like, this is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I think obviously like the whole way the game played out, like obviously you could tell that for the players of Asheville, like it meant a lot to them. I think you touched on it a little bit of like how a lot of the players are they're people that like since in USL2 they only play in the summer. It's people that come in and they stay with host families for like about 3 months. And a lot of times it's like people that come like almost every year. So they form a lot of strong bonds with these families and members of the community. And for a lot of them, it was their first time coming back to Asheville and seeing people that they hadn't seen in, 6 months. And there had been obviously the whole hurricane in the middle of it. And it was just like, when you're talking about the setting of like how much it meant to the players and the fans, and metaphorically that there isn't really a barrier in between that, it was also literally there wasn't a barrier in between that. And it was like one of those things where, in games a lot of times people talk about how like the crowd like influencing a result or influencing a match, and it was like you could feel that in the air, where it was like it was just almost like, in a good way, it was claustrophobic. Like people watching from the top of the dorms, people watching from the hill, people watching from like right next to the field. And you almost like got like caught up in the moment of like, oh my God, like this is actually like Asheville is actually going to win.
Yeah, the energy was just insane.
Insane. And Greenville obviously is like a good team, and on paper it's one of those games that you see like, oh, okay, like they'll probably win like 2 or 3-0, and like that's it. But it was like Asheville like had the momentum, like they were oh my god,
they hit the crossbar.
They had one where like there's the guy that like squared it across. It's like wide open net, and it's just like slide, and then it just like pops up, and it's just like
because at the time God. Gabe and I are moving the bus into our now perfect location, and we're watching the live stream, and we hear and we're like, what happened? You wait 5 seconds, oh, and then watching the penalty kicks, and it was like crazy, like the energy that I think that was my first time going to an Open Cup game. Yeah. Well, I went to back when Orlando City, because they played at a similar field when they were in the USL playing in the Open Cup, so I got to experience that. But it's a completely different thing, like completely new perspective now. Is like I'm watching fans as like I was a fan.
And when did you and Nico go in the dorms?
Yeah, so Nico had the great idea of like let's go up into the dorm and
and ask these college kids if we can hang out.
Yeah. So they we just started waving at them and trying to like get their attention. And then we're like, hand signaling up, like, can we go up there? And they came down, let us in. We went up to the floor, talked to them. One of them was, I think, an Athletic fan, and he was the only one that really knew anything about soccer. But the rest of them were just all like, yeah, this is awesome. They were all freshmen. It was like their first time, or I think he was like a junior, and the rest of them were freshmen. And
he knew like a scary amount about Atletico.
Yeah. It was, and so then I was like, oh yeah, that's our bus over there, because you could see the bus from the dorm. You couldn't see it from the field, but you could see it from the dorm. So we're like, you guys want to go over there? Like, we'll give you a little tour. And so walked them over there, showed them through it, and then we're like, yo, you guys got to go, because we got to put a new spot for this bus, because when they win, we got to get in a spot where everyone's going to come on, because we want everyone to see it and get people on. And so we go drive it down to this place, because we saw a lot of people were like walking out, because it was getting later, so there's a lot of kids leaving with their parents. And so we're like, oh, everyone's coming right down this way, so we'll put the bus right after it, and people will come on for sure. And we park it there, like, oh, it's so dark, like they're not going to be able to see it. And and then the penalty kicks happen, and they end up losing.
Yeah, they lose very like dramatically. But I would say to all of the points so far about like community and what the team means to the people and how the players care enough, like you couldn't really tell they lost. Like it would have been a bigger pop, of course, if they won in PKs, and even like setting up for PKs. Of course, PKs happen on one side of the field, and like we, with all of the fans, sprinted from one side to the other, and it felt almost like a I don't know, like a high school football final situation thing happening. Like everybody was piled around these like just gates. Crowded around these gates. Like all the supporters group moved all their instruments and their drums and their trombones all the way down to the other side. And Asheville loses, unfortunately. But then like all of the players come over to the supporters groups and they're all hugging and like laughing and smiling, and it's like, wait, like this is sick anyway. Like this was awesome anyway. Like they're reconnecting with people that they see 3 months of the year, and they keep coming back to, not because the soccer, although Asheville's very good.
Yeah, they end up having a great season.
Yeah, but they're coming back because like the community's awesome.
Yeah, I was watching. I was watching Rocky the other day, and how it's like but literally how it's like he doesn't like win in the first movie, but it's like there's a whole celebration at the end of it, and it was like very like, the whole like hugs and like the smiles and all of that. It's like even now when I think back to that game, it's almost like a secondary thought of like, oh yeah, I guess they didn't win the game, but it's like there was
it didn't really matter. I remember I was talking to somebody I saw at the pub gate, and then saw him at the game, and he was just like introducing me to the other dads in the group. And I'd tell the story all the time on the bus, and he was like, it just felt for like, which ended up being 120, but he's like, for like 90 minutes things are like back to normal. Like who cares? Like not who cares, but we can forget about the whole outside area of like the devastation that happens. Like we got to be here with people that were got to meet through either going to the games or just family friends that we have brought out here to come and watch the game, and we can just watch Asheville play and don't have to think too hard about everything else. Like the kids are all running up and down on the hill, and a lot of these people, like Gabe was saying, there's a lot of people that don't know anything about soccer, and it's like a baptism of sorts to go out to the Open Cup and see it like in that situation. And a lot of people, that sparks an everlasting love for the game. I remember going to my first Open Cup games as a kid, and you feel that energy because, hold on, a little jet going by. But you feel that energy because you're that close. There's nothing separating you from a player that you'll watch on TV or when you're up in the stands a little bit further. It like removes all that, and it's so much more intimate and gives you that feeling.
Yeah, it like with that, like I remember like, and again, similar story that I tell other people that when they walk on the bus, but like standing on the hill,
yeah,
and then it's like
falling down
the hill, trying to go up it, but then like you look down and it's like the whole view of like there's the Open Cup game going on, and then like right next, like off to the side of the hill and behind the ropes is like little kids, just like 50 of them like running after one ball, and they're all just tackling each other. And I don't know, it's like even then like that again story that I tell a lot of people when they come on the bus, but seeing that like that the dad at the top of the hill, and then he's talking about we just he kind of sees us a little bit kind of like filming and stuff like that, and he asks like, oh, so like what are you guys doing here, all of that. And then I just kind of give him the rundown, and I ask him like, oh, so like do you like soccer? And he's like, no, actually, like this is my very first game ever, and my kid is actually the one that begged me to come because all of his schoolmates and the people that he plays with on his little youth team, they're all coming here, and he was like, Dad, please, I want to go. And he was like, yeah, like I'm actually having like a fantastic time. So I think it was really cool that it was like that it's like, yeah, like for a lot of like little kids, it's like, yeah, like their first experience like seeing the Open Cup and kind of like getting swept up in the whole like emotion of soccer and all of that, and becoming fans of it. But then like also seeing the reverse like happening, which I think is really interesting, that now it's like kids making their parents fall in love with the game, which again is also like one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Asheville, was like those type of conversations, and kind of like it's like eye-opening. And I like that it was like in the first stop that we had with a bus, that it was like, oh my God, like there's this whole world that's kind of like happening under the surface, and it's so beautiful. And yeah, I think that's one of my favorite memories from
sure.
From
Well, I think for all of us, Asheville holds a very special place with us for what we learned, what we experienced. Like I don't know if we had if you asked us to draw up what would a stop look like before we left, like who would we talk to, how would they talk to us, what would we learn, I think it would be what happened in Asheville, which I think was the cherry on top, even for going to the game. And the experience was talking to Simon afterwards. So Simon Carlson, that was
what happened. Just to go back just 5 minutes before that, is we had the bus parked out there, and the whole entire stadium left right before the bus, and just no one went on. But the player locker room was right past us, so all the players had to walk, and that's when Simon came on the bus.
I didn't know there was a rush past the bus.
We moved it to the player lot, I think, right? So
the players left that direction,
and you were offered a job, like when
when we parked it, there's another bus driver there. He's like, oh, we're looking for bus drivers in South Carolina.
Like he parked the bus like next to I think the Greenville bus. So we were there for a while, and then we went down to the players lot. But yeah, that's where we ended up. I think we were so excited just to like for the game, not for the game to end, because the game was awesome. Like we were enjoying it, but when it ended and we realized, I think within like a minute, that like we were in the wrong like lot.
Yeah,
it was just
everyone like came like maybe 20 yards before us, and then made a left.
There was a little stair.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that you could
we didn't see, we didn't see the stair. There's like a little stair going down. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, but then he came on.
Simon came on. Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked to him on the field, and even then we're like, it's still. I mean, I don't know, speak for the rest of us, but even still, like, we've produced a Tim Weah story, but even like asking a USL2 captain, I was like nervous of like, hey man, like we're doing this thing with the bus, like hopefully you don't think we're crazy, but can we talk to you for like 10 minutes on the field after you just lost a devastating game? He was like, yeah, of course, absolutely. And it was a gentleman named Simon Carlson, who I forget where he's from, but played for Asheville for a couple of summers, and was the captain. for the Open Cup game, and even spoke to the importance super well of the Open Cup and why he felt very proud to come back and play in that game. But after we interviewed him, we were like, "You want to come on a bus? Like, could you, like, we're right over there?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely, whatever, of course." And he did, and it was the first, like, again, another set of firsts, but when he was on the bus, I'm like, wait, this is a player's on our bus. This is awesome. Oh, my God. And I feel like we had, like, the parts of the coaching staff come on, too.
Yeah, the coaches came. Even the Greenville coaches came on, too.
There's a picture of, like, the Greenville. I don't know if he was the captain, but there's, like, a Greenville player and Carlson.
Yeah, they did a jersey swap, like, I think, in there.
In the bus.
It was either a Greenville, I think maybe it was like a former coach from Asheville that ended up being on Greenville. There was some relation between him and Simon. But
and then the Greenville coach, I think, like, he was the first one to come on, like, before him, because, like, they came first, I guess. But he had played, or he had coached, forget if he coached Bruce Arena or something.
It was something crazy.
It was something ridiculous, but that somebody, like, 3 months later, like, had a similar story, but he recognized, like, the NASL story that we had in there of Cubillas. And, like, the bumper sticker similar to what happened in Maine. Like, we had to bring him, like, around and show him, like, oh, he played in the Chicago Sting. So it was, like, how random is it that the Greenville coach or assistant, I don't know, again, I forget exactly his name, but, yeah, like, it's funny, like, the coincidence that happened. A lot of stuff that happened in Asheville, like, we didn't know at the time, but would end up happening, like, repeatedly throughout.
Yeah, but again, that was fuel. I would say that all these, like, random things were happening inside the bus. And it's like, oh, the players that just were, I don't know, kicking penalties against each other, they're inside the bus talking, hanging out. And again, somebody who was at the game coaching, it recognizes, like, the random Chicago Sting bumper sticker.
Again, it's like night, like, it's dark out. Like, we don't have, like, you can't see. We have lights, a couple of lights in the bus.
There's
no decorations.
Like how I was saying, with having nothing on the outside in broad daylight, you're like, what is this? Imagine it just pitch black and there's just, like, a little light coming. We, like, put like a FIFA playlist on. This will get them.
It looks like a moth.
Oh, we put
like at night.
We put, like, a little table out and we put the magazine and a light on it. We're like, yeah, look at it. It was terrible.
But I mean, it was a quick turnaround then from. So it was like
Yeah,
we almost
next
didn't
day.
have, like, a time to really be like. Okay. I mean, even it was like. So, like, the game ended late because it went to extra time.
Of course, yeah.
And
we were,
then
like, editing photos.
Take it, like, figuring out, like, all right, how hotel, park the bus, the whole thing, right?
Justin's watching his YouTube videos, how to drive up mountains.
Because, I mean, we went up a little bit of elevation to get to Asheville. Boone is a whole other story.
Yeah. And then, I mean, for Boone, it was like we also, I mean, we had plans to, like, do stuff in the morning in Boone or, like, try to get there, like, as soon as possible. So it was more of like, like, the game is over. It ends late. We have to edit all the stuff. And then it's almost just like, all right, we're destroyed after the game and with everything with the bus, and then just, like, almost like go to bed, wake up, and then just go.
Have some hotel breakfast, pile everybody into one of the, like, 2-3 vehicles we had chasing the bus. And then, again, on paper, Boone's, like, 2 hours from Asheville. But then the closer and closer you get, of course, to Boone, the steeper and steeper it gets. And it's like, wait, the engine's, like, sounding really loud right now, and we're going, like, 25 miles per hour.
Yeah. I mean, at one point we were going 15 miles an hour, and all the fans are on, like, max. Like, the bus was not good. And I don't know why. I was just like, yeah, let's just keep going. Like, just keep going up. I mean, honestly, that wasn't. I think going down those mountains was a lot scarier, just for like braking purposes, and just seeing, like, the runaway trail, like, roads, and you're like, oh, I'm like,
that's for me.
Yeah. That's for, like, vehicles like me. Now I'm not just a car. That was definitely scary. But I mean, getting into Boone, the scenery is just so beautiful that you're like, this is great. And at the time, which ends up being, like, the heat in the bus becomes so much more of an issue in the late, like, literally after that trip. It never got to be pleasant in the bus except for on those trips because it was still cold out and it wasn't super hot in the bus. So it was like a beautiful drive to go up there. But our ignorance is starting to, like, go down and experience up a little bit. And, there's...
Like, our plan for, again, your point of exploring beforehand, not happening.
Never happened.
No.
Yeah.
Impossible. But I have like such a distinct memory of like, because we have the car like driving, behind the bus most of the time, and then at one point we went in front, and it was like snaking up the mountain because it's just like turns after turns after turns. But like you guys said, like the landscape is so beautiful. But like I have like such a distinct memory of like looking, like peeking my head out the window and looking back at the bus, and it's like you just see like the bus turning one of the curves, and then like you see like there's this whole like row of like semis just like piled up behind the bus, just like I'm sure everybody like hated us on that road, but it was like, yeah, like just seeing that little thing going 15 miles an hour, and then like the beautiful scenery behind it, and it's like, oh man, like we're gonna make it. But then also like in the back of your head, like, oh no, like there's so much that can go wrong, like between now and when we get to Boone.
Yeah, but we get to Boone, we go to the field first to like, we did a drone shot or something of the bus, and then we left it there, right? Because we went to go meet Mike. So for context, I had shot an Appalachian FC game before in Charlotte. Like I kind of went on a whim for an Open Cup game. I didn't know what to expect, and then I quickly learned like, oh, these guys are insane. They marched through the woods for pregame with flares and a guy in a Sasquatch costume. What the hell? So it was like, we need to come back here and do more, I don't know, talking to people on the ground of like, what's actually going on here, because NPSL is a super small league as well. But we got, because as we learned, the sliding scale of size of club and who can help you and who has the time to help you, we met with Mike, who is one of the owners of the club, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like Mike, being the owner of an NPSL club, is doing 1,000 different things at once. But we had the chance to, which was cool anyway, meet them at their club offices, which they had, which again is in and of itself is amazing. But met them in this plaza, almost like a medical or office park, to go meet. We met the coach and we met Mike, and we shook hands, and we saw
the coach was doing laundry.
The coach was doing laundry, and because one of the things, I guess if we don't know Appalachian FC, like they're kind of known for having a very like iconic badge and mascot of like, oh, they're the Sasquatch team, and so they have a lot of merch because selling merch keeps them alive. But being able to meet Mike, I think, felt, at least to me, super special.
Yeah, I mean the Sasquatch.
Is right
Oh
there.
shit!
Yeah.
Yeah, and we ended up featuring, I mean, before we even went there, I mean, I guess we didn't even plan to go there before we put it in the video, because we're like, oh, we got to like, make sure every bit of American soccer is represented, and like what better way to represent like than the Sasquatch of just like how crazy clubs can get the further down you go. I feel
like when we reached out to them, they were like, wait, you want to do what?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like when, because you told me the name of, since you had been last year, you were like, reach out, like find Mike basically. And I forget who exactly I emailed, but whoever I landed on, they were like, it was either Mike or the coach. Like those were
That's it.
the two options. And it's not to make fun of or anything. It's like the complete opposite. Just like it was at the time, like every time I would talk to Mike on the phone, it was like I could tell he was doing something, like he was busy. But then he would tell me about it, and it's like clearly a lot of the burden of running a club was like on him. So just when we got to Boone and when we were able to go to it was like a strip mall, right? To their office, and like we met with Mike for the first time, and like the coach, and it almost felt like we were like, that's as behind the scenes as you were gonna get. Like there's not really much else from there, but I still can't believe, like, I don't know how you run a club personally.
Yeah.
Like I
An
don't,
NPSL
I think
club.
it was also like for scene setting purposes, it's like like a strip mall or like medical plaza thing.
it was a dental office
that
we walked
is
in.
just like you walked through the doors, and it was like, again, like at least for me personally, had no idea like what to expect, like opening those doors, and then you open them, and then it's like you just see a lobby and you're like, wait, like what, there's like nothing here, like are we in the right place? And then it's like you have to go through like this little hallway and then into a room and then into another back room, and then that's where everything is. And it's like, oh my God. Like, the fact that even he was taking the time to, like, meet us, I was like, this is insane because, like, yeah, they're doing laundry. They're preparing the merch. Like, they're doing all this other stuff. But they still took the time to be like, yeah, like, you know, guys, like, just come in here, like, do whatever you want to do. And it was just like, yeah, like, insane to think that, like, you know, this like club that also I think for like people that kind of like know it like it's an iconic team, I would say, like Sasquatch, the whole thing.
Yeah, even though like the reason it came to be was because Appalachian State had a men's soccer program. They lost it during COVID 2020,
right.
And I forget who exactly, but they were like, we need a soccer team. And so they made a soccer team that still was running and successful today. But the context of like, yeah, like community needs one, so we're going to make one.
And it's like crazy like how much it like hinges on like just like people that are just like absolutely like insane in the right way of like insanely passionate, like, and even the fact that the coaches like they were like doing the laundry, like all that type of stuff, like, and then like later on that we get to see like the fruits of all that labor. It's like, oh my God, like probably like a ton of people that are there like have no idea like how like what it all hinges on. But
How many like in an impressive way, how few people like are in charge of things. But I think, speaking of learning, I think the Appalachian FC match was, at least I think for me, one of the points where we were like, wait, we need to figure out how we get people on this bus, because we parked this time right behind the field. Like the bus is on broadcast for the Open Cup, but like we still struggled. Like people were like, what is this thing?
But I remember then, like, even though it had been a quick turnaround from Asheville, and we had, like, learned certain things from Asheville of, like, oh, okay, like, you know, we're just parked, and then we're just telling people, like, oh, yeah, like, you know, come into my bus that, you know, is totally, like, it's completely safe, like, nothing's gonna happen. But then even then, like, I think in Boone, like, we put the Sasquatch, like, right outside. Like, it was, like, a little bit of, like, oh, okay, like, maybe we need to start doing different
things. Outside,
yeah, to try to bring people in. But
yeah, and it was cool. We got Andrew and Prez from Boost came out, Connor came out, and it was like good to hear a lot of suggestions from them on, like, you know, from that outside in standpoint of like what's working, what's not, and just like, yeah, it was cool to see people that traveled there just to support us too, because I mean, it's great seeing the random people, but seeing some of your peers come out and, you know, people that we discuss some of this stuff about. And forgetting her name, but she brought the ticket. Madeline? Yeah.
That was crazy.
She brought a ticket onto the bus, and the first person to redeem their ticket.
Yeah, for context, we, as a part of a genius marketing thing that we thought would be great, we sent out like fake bus tickets to people ahead of the launch of everything. Yeah. And we didn't even, like, never said anything about, you know, bring a ticket, get something.
Sorry, it's just the brakes.
Yeah, we never thought about, like, telling anybody, bring a ticket to the bus, we'll give you something, or, like, I don't know, it means anything. But Madeline, who, she worked for Birmingham, I believe, had just moved to Charlotte to work for Charlotte FC, when Charlotte's, like, 2.5, 3 hours from Boone. We didn't know her. She just was like, I'm going. And she drove, and she showed up, like, as we were setting up, I think, and was, like, wearing a jersey.
Yeah,
wearing a jersey, had the ticket, and was like, I'm here. We were like,
what do we do?
No way, dude, this is awesome.
Dude, when that happened, I was like, this is crazy. Like, it's like, I get similar to how in Nashville we were like, oh yeah, like, you know, these little moments that were like, oh yeah, like, we need to keep going. When that happened, I was like, this is crazy. Like, somebody actually had the ticket.
I think the best part is she went with you guys and did the whole experience, like, with you guys. You guys were in the march
the whole
down.
Day. Yeah, it was awesome. She was with us, like interviewing people, like, talking to, trying.
She got on top of the bus too
with Squatch.
Yeah,
right?
with
Squatch.
Yeah,
it was it was perfect. It was so, like, a great, like, I don't know, like, oh cool, we have to, like, if we were tired at all, we have to go interview people. We have to go because, like, she's here, so, like, like, come on, we have to.
So after the office with Mike, we went to the game.
Yeah, we go to the game. Bus pulls up outside the fields. Our Sasquatch gets dressed and stands outside.
It was a hit.
It was a hit. We obviously he's still around, so I think he might be our highest gross returning employee.
Donovan was.
Well, yeah. Who wants to explain? Explain Donovan.
Yeah, I can take a stab at explaining that.
Our intern?
Our first intern. But yeah, it was back to that idea of like, how do we get people into the bus? And Donovan took a shot on us and went into the bus. And that's the best part, is like getting these kids, because I think they're the most intimidating ones to come on. Not like kids, but like teenagers. You're like, oh my gosh, what do we even say to this?
Because they're going to think the thing's stupid
anyway. Yeah, exactly. And he was like, how do I get a jersey? Like, I want a jersey. And I don't know if it was Gabe or I, but we had these clappers that we ended up never using after the first store in North Carolina. But they all had said the Soccer Odyssey on them. And I was like, we're like, if you pass out this stack, we'll give you a jersey. And he's like, okay. He goes out and just like just sets them down somewhere and comes back. He's like, I passed them all out. And we're like, whatever, kid. Like, here, take the jersey. And I think he felt bad for us that he tried to pull a fast one on us. And so he legit went out and started handing them out to everyone, telling them to come to the bus. They all came to the bus. They're like, we have this clapper. This kid gave it to us. And he's wearing the Club 11 jersey. And we're like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And then when we go and Tyler's out there shooting the mascots as they're walking out to the game. All of them have the little Soccer Odyssey clappers in their hands, and they're showing it up to the camera, and they're all walking out onto the field with them. We're like,
somewhere, so our genius plan of, either the clappers visually will be seen, or from a brand perspective, we can make noise, and people will be like, oh my God, Club 11, as if that was going to happen.
But then I guess also the thing with the clappers is the kids loved them, the parents hated them, because the kids would never stop clapping throughout the whole entire pre-game game. They're like, why are you giving these out?
But it was perfect, because during they walked out, and during the national anthem, maybe we can find the screenshot somewhere, but the kids are holding up while the national anthem is happening, which was, I think, we couldn't imagine. Again, that's the only time we really pushed the clappers, but it worked perfect for one day.
I think it was the only that was the only case where it could work. Maybe Asheville would have worked too, but everyone else, you're not letting your mascot just walk out there with a random thing. But that was
thank
great.
you, Donovan. Though.
So Donovan got a jersey, and then the best part after the game, he posted, and I mean, we didn't accept the collab request, but a little picture of him with the jersey on the bed.
We still can, I think. It must still be
It might work.
I mean, maybe we should.
I'd really would like that.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, the march was also fun, I think.
The march was, they let you carry the flares, right?
Yeah, they had the little flare stick thingies. It's just marching through the woods. That was a cool one, because I think it was obviously had heard a lot from when you had first gone to that Appalachian FC game.
Yeah.
And then it was just that whole thing of it had built up of they basically come out of the woods and then they march down to the field. And it was getting to experience that was really cool. I don't know, they killed it. And the Sasquatch in the front of the whole army of people coming down. It's just he's waving the flag, going crazy. And
yeah, and I think it was a good, another good encapsulate. We heard similar things at Asheville, but even for ourselves, of course we have I don't know, maybe MLS teams we and then USL teams and whatever else. And I forget his name, but we talked to him. He's a leader of the supporters group in Boone, walking up before the march. And just being because I knew from before he's a part of Maiden City Collective, which is a Charlotte FC supporters group, and we're dude, you could pick one, you could not do this, why are you doing this? And but a really good explanation of he's well, I want to bring that energy here because this is this community, this supporters group represents me, this team represents me more than Charlotte FC does. It's my local thing. Mm-hmm. So even the nuance there of him having a Maiden City Collective scarf, but still wearing Appalachian FC. And he was there. I feel we talked to him in the parking lot beforehand. He was there so early.
Yeah.
Again, Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, the march I think is. I mean, if you're able to travel to Boone, it's I don't know where else you can experience something of that scale.
It's one of the most beautiful I think things obviously the march, but then then when you're at the game. Because I know we were kind of doing a lot of things experiencing the little food trucks and all that, which was really cool. But then I think for a few minutes when we sat in the stands, and then it's you see the field, and then it's in the distance it's just mountains and mountains, and it's just trees orange basically, and then it's just you're almost in paradise essentially, and there's this just soccer field that's boom straight in the middle of I don't know, just
airdropped in
essentially,
yeah, with like the purple and orange sunset.
Yeah, like the sunset was like incredible. Then at that point I was like, this is just like, wow, like, well, amazing.
Yeah, I think a goal we had, as we've mentioned, they had a very iconic Sasquatch mascot that we've grown very attached to. Some would argue we've milked for content far too many times.
Sorry. Yeah.
But we were like, had an idea of it would be cool to talk to mascots along the way. Like we could interview whoever's behind the mask and do this whole series. And Mike was like, oh yeah, Jackson's the guy who's the mascot. Like you can totally just talk to him. He'll be great. Like no worries. And we're like, all right, awesome, great. And we tried to interview Jackson. We tried to interview Squatch.
Yeah.
And he literally wouldn't give us an interview. It was the hardest interview. We could interview Tim Way, but we couldn't interview Sasquatch in Boone, North Carolina. But he was down to play ball, and you...
To my favorite thing, I mean, we did do like an interview of like yes or no questions, or like he would answer. But like the fact that through rudimentary sign language and actions and stuff like that, like he was able to like just be like, I want to like go up to the top of the bus.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I don't even know like how we ended up doing that.
We had a ladder.
We had a ladder, I guess, at that point in the
Yeah,
journey.
we would bring the ladder around because we were like,
Yeah. But it was just like almost like he's like in his full like costume. And then it was just like...
Yeah, and I had to be like... Because the top of it is like there's plexiglass on the roof, and I was like, you can't step here, like don't step here. I'm trying to like guide him up there, and then you go up there with him, and he starts going crazy up there. It's great.
Because yeah, even like his feet that he had on are obviously far too big, and so they're getting caught like on the ladder going up, and it's like we have a lawsuit on our hands.
Yeah, no, literally, I was terrified that he was just gonna like fall, and that was the end of everything. But yeah, then like he got up there, and then we followed him, and then like for a few like minutes, like getting to, because we were parked like right. It was just the chain link fence, and then the bus
And the goal.
And the goal,
yeah,
like right there, and we're just like standing on top of the bus, like watching the game with the Sasquatch. That was also a moment of like, where are we?
Where are we? Which then again, he wouldn't give us an interview during the game, but after the game, which is cool. I think a lot of teams do it at this point. Like they let the fans on the field. Same kind of scenario. Like App lost, unfortunately, but energy was still awesome. They were like the fans were all out on the field talking to the players afterwards and just catching up. And there's this guy that starts sauntering towards us, and he's probably like, I don't know, 5 yards away.
Yeah.
Before he opens his mouth, and we wouldn't know, I guess, if he did speak. We're like, that's fucking Squatch.
That's Squatch.
That's Squatch. And he still never, I mean, to be fair, he never admitted anything.
Yeah.
He never admitted a single thing.
Anything.
But by the way his gait looked, we were like, wait a minute.
Wait a
I've
second.
seen this walk.
Wait a second.
But we ended up learning.
Yeah. I mean, this person that may or may not be the Squatch. But it was just hearing from him that it's like, just asking him like, oh yeah, like do you enjoy soccer? He's like, no, like never played it, never actually like watched it or anything like that. So it's like, just learning a little bit about his life, and he's telling us like, oh yeah, like my regular job is like, I do a lot of things, but I first like do the rodeo circuit in North Carolina, and then I also flip farms, and that's and then third, I mean, if you believe this sort of rumor, but people say that he is a Sasquatch.
It's into Squatch-like activities.
He does engage in Squatch-like activities, but he says that he enjoys the fact of like this is something that is like a positive for his community, and like seeing all the people coming together and enjoying an activity. As a community is like, that's the part that he loves and the part that he likes to foster, and especially like if it's going to like make kids like happy at the end of the day, like when you see him like roaming because he like obviously there's like mascots and then there's Squatch. Like Squatch is literally like running through the stands, like running through the lot, running through the food trucks and all that stuff. Like he is literally
very
everywhere.
Mobile,
like doesn't stop throughout the 90 minutes.
He could have played left wing and might have used himself. Yeah.
Literally. So he's like just everywhere, and like you know, all the little kids and all that, like they adore the fact that the Squatch is like, you know, just running amok, you know, doing his thing. So it's like it's cool to see that. I think like, you know, for a lot of people in general that we've kind of like met on this journey, it's like a lot of times they don't necessarily even like soccer or enjoy it as like
it's like a space for them to just
be
their thing,
right,
yeah.
and just like, you know, just do all these things that, you know, are at the end of the day like a positive thing for people. Like I think, you know, it's like that's one thing that, you know, not to get too like deep on it, but obviously like the whole thing of like, you know, like connections and like, you know, that now, especially after the pandemic, that it's like hard to have like spaces and like people to come together and like meet and all these things. It's like the Open Cup is like that essentially, and
third space. The Open Cup is the
old third
space.
space.
Just 2 episodes to get. I mean, to be fair, it's like an hour, 2.5 hours to get to third spaces. But you are right.
To get to third spaces, but yeah, I mean, like I think with Squatch, it was great to see that no matter like what people do on their 9-to-5s or whatever, it's like they're finding time to put on something that's like valuable for the community, whether it's like Mike doing it directly, like, you know, as the owner of the team and you know, being there on behind the scenes, or just people who have kind of like lived there and they see the positive of like
of having a
soccer.
team and having and being a part of something.
Exactly.
They use I mean, like we were saying, the cliche of just like that, they use the badge to be this like unifier of like, yeah, I am a app supporter, this and that, and it's something that you can unify, like identify with other people with.
Yeah, you're proud to say, "Oh, like that's me."
Yeah. Well, then we went to the Boone Saloon and had a great little night. And they had the World Cup pinball machine, but let's just cut it there.
So, yeah, you can if you do go to Boone, go to the Boone Saloon. There's I don't know how many exist still, but there's a 1994 World Cup with Striker plastered over at pinball machine that you can play, that we played for a long time.
Which is funny because we have Striker on the front of the bus too.
This is true.
Drinks super cheap.
Drinks are super cheap.
That
yeah,
was awesome.
As the city dwellers we were surprised at the cost of the drinks. But here we are thinking that one more day, one more game, it's going to be super easy. And as Justin already hinted at, going down the mountain maybe a little bit was even scarier than going up it.
Because there's always, you know, you're trying to figure out your best use of the brakes, because you don't want to lay on your brakes as you're going down a mountain. Let's just get into some vehicle talk. Why don't we, you know?
Welcome to shop talk.
Yeah, exactly. You start riding the brakes a little bit too much as you're going down a mountain, they start burning. You know, you start just hearing a little bit of that smell of the tire burning. So it's always, you know, this gentle dance with the brakes, and also keeping in mind Tyler and Kira are sitting right behind me. Of, let's, you know, make sure we're not going too slow, but we're not going too fast. But all that to say that we made it down the mountains. We made it fine. It was no sweat at all.
He wasn't worried whatsoever at any point.
Yeah. I don't. It's so much of a blur of what that experience was like, and I never want to experience it again. That maybe it is a little bit of my own, like I forget what it's called, but
trauma blocking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that. Well, that's it. Well, we'll conclude shop talk with trauma blocking.
Yeah. It's a good 10 seconds, but it's good.
But we make it to High Point. Again, we'd been there before with Carolina Core the year before. This was the first game where the home team, the team we were visiting, so to speak, was supposed to win. So we were excited for it. And I guess off the rip, shout out Aiden, who now works for U.S. Soccer. But Aiden had helped us out so much the first time we came, and so much the second time we came, with just whatever we needed, welcoming us and introducing us to the right people. But I think that's what, I don't know, the vibe, of course, everywhere. But High Point was very just nice. They were very nice. And they play, Carolina Core is MLS Next Pro. They play in a baseball stadium, which is the most American possible soccer thing, I think, to exist at this point. But I mean, awesome care that they put into the club, with whether it be the kits or all the different promotions for the fans. They have like party on the pitch, I think, that they were doing, like right behind the field as well. But I think I don't want to jump to the Soda City fan and give him his flowers, but for me, he was the most memorable part of the day.
I mean, I think with Carolina Core, it was at least cool because, like, you and I had been there before, the year before, and it was, like, their first game, like, when we first went in 2024. And then coming back in 2025, it was, like, it was almost like when somebody does like an experiment and it's like then you like put a little thing on it and you don't look at it until like I don't know like months later. It was kind of like that where it was like we got to see the first game. Thankfully, it was super lucky to get to witness that, and then getting to come back like a year later and see like everything that they've built and how much they've grown and all of that. I think was really cool. But then like the Soda City fan, Tadao. Right,
that was it.
Tadao.
That was his name. He had, for context, the Soda City fan. He was, on sitting behind one of the corner flags in the outfield of the baseball stadium by himself, and it was cold as hell that night too. By himself, he was wearing like a red costume,
red cape with a little
royalty crown, a cape.
Yeah.
He had some kind of like thing here too.
He had a bling. He had some.
Yeah, his chain said Tadao.
That's right,
Tadao.
And Soda City's in South Carolina, I think.
Yeah,
that's
so in I think so.
Too far away. But he was like his connection there was like his son.
His son was like one of the youngest players on the team.
Yeah, like I don't even know if he played that day, but he traveled.
Yeah,
himself.
He was like 16 or something.
Yeah, to go support in the Open Cup.
Yeah,
he's like, I just went to the store and just bought all this. Like it wasn't like an organized. I mean, maybe it was, but I feel like when he was talking about it, he was like, I just like went to Dollar General and just like, this is my one shot is today, so I'll be Tadao.
But it was great that like it wasn't like like you say his kid wasn't even gonna play, but he's like, no, like I'm still making I forget how long the drive was, but very long drive, and he was like, no, like I'm gonna be here. It's probably one of the very few like Soda City fans that made the journey.
I might have been the only one, truthfully.
Maybe the only one, yeah. But no, that was
cool. Get an autograph from Eddie Pope.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah, Eddie Pope.
We interviewed Eddie. Eddie Pope is like the sporting director, essentially, and so the same place I answered the phone call from Gabe about the magazine. We got to interview Eddie Pope, and given our DC connections, and I don't know whose it was or how we had it, but the Eddie Pope card.
We just had a card because we bought it off of eBay on the bus. We're like, oh crap!
And we were like, hey man, not to break journalistic standards here, but can you sign this for us?
Sign this. Yeah, it was great. I feel like when we were talking about like how the things like initially the collection that we had on the bus was just essentially stuff that we had in our own personal ones or like stuff that we found on eBay. That was one where it's like, oh, okay, like maybe that's like a little like thing that it's like, okay, now this item has a connection, has a story that we can maybe tell down the road. And still, like, when we went to DC, showing it around to the fans, it's like, oh yeah, it's like we were with Eddie Pope in
and like
North Carolina.
Cool because he's from the Triangle, he's from High Point, and it's like for him to want to go back. We didn't even speak about the like youth system that they're building there too. If it not already is like free to play, so everybody, any kid in the area can come be a part of it. But like that's sort of the goal for what he wants the club to be, and they want the club, the professional side, to be a stepping stone for younger players to want to come play in MLS Next Pro and then move on. It's very clear, like we're not trying to hold people forever. We want to build them and have them be proud of being here and being a former player here.
Yeah.
Which was unique compared to the first two for sure.
Yeah, that was cool. We also went to the Thomas place.
We did. We tried to go.
It was pouring rain. Couldn't really make it happen. But
we did.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, it was that like we went to by chance, of course. The Thomas Bus HQ is in High Point, North Carolina, and so before the game, we were like, "What if we just go and see what they say about what we're doing?" Or I don't know, make the connection. And so the three of us went in, and they have their own museum essentially in the lobby of old stuff. And we just asked the like security guard essentially of like, hey, can we talk to someone? We have an old bus here from 1998, and we gave her ended up leaving a poster because no one could come meet us, unfortunately. But the cool thing was, I forget how many months later, I got an email from them being like, if you ever need anything, this is sick, like let us know. But yeah, complete by chance side plot. Oh, I wonder where the Thomas bus fit, and I was like, oh, it's right there. We can, if anybody wants to take the bed bugs that sleep in on the way home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we can just talk quickly about our journey home. I think we were in Greensboro when we were leaving, and I was trying to fill up the gas tank and just wouldn't fill up. And I think that was the first panic that we've ever had. I was just sitting at the gas pump, and I don't know why it wouldn't pump, but it just wouldn't. And it's it's done that sporadically ever since then. But it just took like us. I don't know what we were trying to figure out something. We were on the side of the road, Googling something, trying to look through a bus form. Couldn't figure out anything. I just like drove down another mile.
So I thought we were at like going to Waffle House.
Yeah, well, we ate at Waffle House.
Yeah, and then it wasn't it then or no?
Because there was a gas station right there, and I tried filling it up before because we were about to hit the road to go back home, and the gas wouldn't enter the or the diesel, I guess, wouldn't enter the bus. Then it ended up, it was like an hour of us trying to figure out what was happening, having no clue where to even start with what was the issue. Drove to the next gas station, started filling up fine, and then we just hit the road after that or whatever. So then after that, we made it down, I think that night, to the Sleep Inn. Pablo's crackpot thinking got us to that hotel.
I'm sorry.
Where it just smelled like burning plastic outside, and parked the bus out there, go in. We ate a little Southern Comfort and then walked back. We're all like talking in one of the hotel rooms, and you just see, was it by Gabe's head? Just a little bed bug just walking.
Not a little one. It was enormous.
Yeah.
It was a well-fed.
Well, yeah, because that's what we were like, is that a tick or a bed bug? And we couldn't figure it out, and they go take a picture of it and go down to the front office or the front desk, and she's like, that ain't no tick, that's a bed bug. We're like, oh my gosh. So moved our room. Put your mic up.
That's a bed bug, honey.
There you go.
And it was like, cool, like, can we get a new room then? Or like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
So we didn't get anything, right?
No, we got a new room. Yeah, we changed rooms and then checked everything, and we were good to go. And made our way. We just quickly slept through the night and thanked Pablo for the stay.
You're welcome.
And made it back to Florida. And where do we want to take it from there?
Argentina have won the World Cup for the second time. It's one of the most dramatic finals